Good evening, everyone. It's Mango.
And Space Panther.
Last night we saw the premiere in Santa Monica of the documentary Vaxxed, from Cover-Up To Catastrophe. Hooch did not happen to see it, and he's already had all of his vaccines. Who knows if he's got autism? Nobody knows. And we've been stewing on it for a day. Very powerful movie, and we thought we'd share some of our thoughts with you, having seen the evidence presented in it. So, Space Panther, you want to take it away?
Okay, so right now, and for a long time now, there's this huge debate going on in the public realm between anti-vaxxers and pro-vaxxers. It's really just between people who support vaccines without question and those who have questions. And when you're injecting an infant or a young child with a cocktail of chemicals, heavy metals, and viruses, even if they're dead viruses, you might want to ask some questions, right? Like, are there long-term effects? As I said in my other video about vaccines, it wouldn't be an issue if it wasn't an issue. You wouldn't be having parents every year, every day talking about, this link between vaccines and autism. They're not stopping. Every day there's more and more parents speaking up in the public realm about these sort of connections, and they're just being dismissed. And as we realize, Mango will go over what the documentary was about. Those who support vaccines, it's always like, oh, the science says there's no link. Well, the science they're referring to was in 2002, the CDC published a report saying there is no link between vaccines and autism. Specifically, they're talking about the MMR vaccine and autism. That was kind of the more controversial one. And of course, the CDC is the end-all, the know-all, the top scientific authority. So if the CDC says there's no link, there's no link. And if you question it, then you're anti-science, right? So, but as we learned in this documentary, there's a little bit more to the story.
There's a lot more to the story, and this is arguably the biggest medical journalism story in the history of the United States or the modern era. This is basically the documentary covers the whistleblower testimony of one of the most senior scientists at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, which is the organization that did the study that Space Panther just referenced, that began in 2001 and took until 2004 to be published. They sat on this for 2 years, waiting to release this, and the documentary covers everything that went into that study, and more importantly, what was taken out of that study, which is the absolutely unequivocally proven statistical link beyond any sort of statistical error variation. We're talking about 3 to 7 times in certain cases more likely for kids to get autism after receiving the triple measles, mumps, rubella vaccine.
The science showed there is a connection. That people say, oh, there's no connection, there is no connection. The science showed, the top scientist, the man in charge of compiling all the data, they admitted they actually showed there was a connection, specifically with 3 years old. So if kids received the MMR vaccine when they were under 3 years old, as is recommended, it's recommended, I think 18 months they receive it, under 3 years old versus over, was it 3 to 7 times higher? More than 3 times more likely to get autism if you get it before you're 3 years old.
In certain cases, up to 7 times. That's well beyond.
There's a race link too with African Americans. African Americans can be up to 7 times more likely.
But it's not just African American kids. It's not just boys versus girls. We're talking about all children being born today are at risk right now, and the entire vitriol, all the hatred that these supposed lovers of science and pro-vaxxers have been just lobbing on these parents who just want to care for their children and notice an unequivocal change. Their kids are happy and they're bubbly and they're laughing and they're looking their parents in the eyes and they're so excited to be alive. They get the shot and they turn into zombies. And I'm not making fun of this right now. This is so serious. If you think that 650 cases of measles with a mortality rate of 0.1%, 0.1,
One in-
0.1%. If you
1,000.
think 650 cases of measles are more important than the 58,000 kids that will be born with autism this year, you are off your rocker. Okay, there's no other way to put that.
The really important point is the data was falsified. The studies actually showed there was a major link. You can't ignore it. There was a specific link between not just vaccines, but specifically the MMR vaccine and autism. And as Mango said, they waited 2 years because he was pretty much instructed by his supervisors to go in and change the data. Literally go in there, erase numbers and put in different numbers to show that there was no connection.
William Thompson, Dr. William Thompson, senior scientist at the CDC, bless his truth-telling soul. Bless this man for coming forward. And any other whistleblowers that are in this position, this is the time, guys. Come forward. If you're by chance seeing this, we're riding a wave right now. And there's a reason that this movie was pressured so heavily to get out of the Tribeca Film Festival, because it is the most damning, irrefutable, conclusive proof not only that the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine does have a causal link with autism, but that the CDC, one of the top authorities for medical information in the world, is a fraudulent organization, and not a single piece of data that it puts out can be trusted. And that's a fact. And if you do trust them, given this stunning omission of fraud by the number 4 in command of that particular study, if that does, this guy wasn't mopping the floor, okay? He wasn't the janitor. He was the guy who was responsible for recording the data, analyzing, putting it in the charts, and basically doing all the numbers for the study. And this is the guy that came forward, okay? The guy who was complicit in it, and he couldn't take it inside because he knew this is evil.
And it's getting to be a bigger and bigger problem. What is it, 1 in 70 children now?
1 in 68 and 1 in 42 boys. And at this rate, it's going to be a lot higher in the coming decades if we don't change course and realize what the hell's going on.
So on that note, is there anything else to add?
So that's the main thing of the film.
Go see it for yourself.
Yeah, do not listen to some website. Go see the movie.
And don't even listen to us.
Yeah,
You're like, oh, Mango and Space Panther, okay, whatever, hippies. Like, no, go watch it. Like, it's not just that. You know, it goes into the whole history of, like, you know, the meningitis vaccine. You know, in Canada, it was causing all of these side effects. They withdrew it from the Canadian market, and they sent it to... And then went to Brazil. I mean, this has been going on for a while. There have been problems with vaccines for a long time that have just been pushed under the carpet, and then anyone who questions it is just called a moron. So there's a lot more to the documentary than just the fact that the CDC committed fraud with their test results, but that was kind of the main takeaway. And why it's so important is because people always, if you question it, you're made to look stupid because, oh, the CDC knows more than you. Well,
the CDC has known for a decade and a half that the MMR vaccine causes autism. Yes, they have, and this movie is absolute unequivocal proof that it could be testimony in a court of law if any of these joke courts would actually hear the case. There's no way. I mean, this guy was part of the study. He proves unequivocally. There are documents and recordings. We have the proof. It is not an opinion.
So we saw this documentary just recently got released. It's being shown in LA, New York, I think one other city, maybe Chicago, San Francisco. Like a lot of these documentaries, in a few months you might be able to see it here. Eventually you can download it. So just keep your eyes open. When you have the opportunity to watch it, watch it. I mean, it never hurts to have more information. If you want to watch it and you still decide, like, I want to give my 6-month-old the MMR vaccine, then do it. But it doesn't hurt to have information. It never hurts to have more information. On that note, did you have anything else? I wanted to go into why specifically the MMR is the focal point here.
Yeah, this movie does not get into the specific how and why. It basically just reveals that the CDC knew about the statistical link in 2002, and they twiddled their thumbs and they wrung their hands for 2 years thinking, oh, what are we going to do? How are we going to release this without it destroying our industry? The vaccines don't even need to be tested in the same way all the other drugs do. They don't need to have a control sample of vaccinated...
They're not even tested for
It's
safety.
a joke. It's not scientific, and if you say that we're anti-science for looking at the actual data and looking at the testimony of one of the senior scientists of the CDC... I don't have anything to say.
So what's interesting is, in Andrew Wakefield, the man who everyone likes to say is a fraud and discredited, he was one of the co-producers of this documentary. You should actually really look into what his research was about, because back in the 90s when he was doing his research, it wasn't about vaccines, it was about the MMR. 3 viruses in one shot. And he found that this was causing gastronomic issues with digestion, and also this link to autism, right? So it's not just so much about vaccines, it's specifically having one vaccine with 3 different viruses in it that's causing problems. And how interesting, you can't even get a single shot. Oh, you just want to get against rubella? Measles? You can't. They don't exist. And could be a whole other topic about what really the true agenda of the controllers are. But as we kind of wrap this up, I just wanted to point out a different topic, something that Dan McDonald and a few other people have gone into, something called immunoexcitotoxicity. And just to kind of sever, this isn't about the documentary anymore, but it's about specifically why the MMR vaccine does cause autism. Okay, so just real quick. When you get sick, when you get a virus in your system, a vaccine is the same, it's a mini virus, right? It creates an immune response. All your white blood cells, oh, there's an invader! White blood cells, go, take him out, right? And in normal life, you get sick, you get the flu, your white blood cells go crazy, and then all your white blood cells, and then they die, right? They do their job and they die. And then slowly your lymphatic system cleans everything up. It takes the white blood cells, it puts it into your lymph system, it cycles through, you get healthy again, okay? When kids are getting vaccines when they're little, there's not... Okay, so when you get a vaccine when you're young, you have the immune response, the white blood cells, but then if you don't wait long enough, those white blood cells don't get cleared out, and then you get another vaccine, boom, 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 boom. So many of them, your immune response is in hyperdrive all the time, and especially for children under 3 years old who are getting all of these vaccines, their immune system is constantly in hyperdrive. Their lymphatic system never can clean out the dead white blood cells from their blood. The lymph goes in, takes out the white blood cells so the blood can keep flowing to the brain, right? But when they have so many vaccines, there's never a chance for this to happen. So the white blood cells get clogged in the capillaries. The little capillaries that send blood to the brain get clogged with white blood cells. And that, again, this is why the MMR, you have 3 different viruses, right? 3 different immune responses. Whoa, we are being attacked. We're just a little infant and we're being attacked with 3 different viruses. Go, 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 send in the troops. All of these white blood cells are just like flooding the body trying to get the virus, they do, but they also stay there. Unless you're putting your kid on a really strong detoxification protocol to get their lymph system going, it stays there. And the point is the white blood cells are clogging up. It's just dead white blood cells clogging up the capillaries to the brain that are responsible for your whole frontal cortex with communication, your verbal centers. All of these things that you see in autistic kids that they're lacking, according to some researchers, it's because they're not getting blood to that part of the brain. They're not getting blood there because the capillaries that are supposed to transport the blood there are being clogged with just dead white blood cells. So you can detox, you can, I personally haven't known anyone who's done this, but we'll post some links in the video below. Check out immunoexcitotoxicity. You're exciting the immune system and it becomes toxic, basically, to yourself. But you can get over it. There's detoxification measures, getting the lymphatic system going, clearing out those pathways. You can actually get blood flow to the brain. I and Mango, we don't believe anything is really permanent. Even a diagnosis like autism, maybe your kid will never be 100% again.
Everything can be healed.
It can be healed to a huge degree. You just have to get the blood flowing into the brain, It can be healed. And again, this is why the MMR was so much more problematic, because you had three viruses. The body is in a hyper immune drive with that. It's not just like, oh, one thing. And especially for a little kid. A little baby would never be exposed to 3 viruses, measles, mumps, and rubella, in one setting. Oh, I'm just going in the afternoon, bam, 3 viruses all at once. Like, yeah.
And this is very, very, very key shift in perspective, because we're not talking about thimerosal, the mercury additive. This is not about the preservatives. This isn't about all the weird stuff in there, the fetal cells and all this. This is about the specific desired effect of that modality of vaccinations. It is the immune response,
right,
which is causing the problem. And not just the immune response from one vaccine, but it is this triple threat. Imagine, just like Panther's saying, if your child got infected naturally with measles, mumps, and rubella all at the same time, complete
Bad
overload.
news.
For a 12-month-old infant, I mean, this is
not
insane. And you know, again, if we really want to, you know, get the benefits of vaccine science, and without this, you know, crazy, undeniable statistical link between the MMR and autism, we could just take the individual shots and measure that out in over and also at a later time.
The individual shots.
Right, and they did. The big drug companies, they had them, and then in the UK, when Dr. Wakefield's information came out, and all the parents who support him to the hilt, you know, were rallying around supporting him, this information got out. People reacted the natural way, and they said, I don't want the MMR, give me the individuals.
Right.
And you know what they did? They got rid of them. There are no singles, so now they just have the 3. So what kind of industry do you think you're dealing with when information comes out showing definitive harm with their product, and instead of basically, they could just they could make even more money by selling the individuals. But they said, no, you're getting the triple, all of your kids. And you know what? I just did the math on this. 1 in 68 kids gonna have autism this year. There's 4 million kids gonna be born in the United States this year about. Okay? That's 58,000, that's where I get the number. 58,000, or just under 60,000 kids going to be born in the United States this year who are going to have autism spectrum disorder. It costs on average $60,000 a year to have an autistic child. Let me do some more math for you. That's $3.5 trillion. Trillion. 1 year. And you ask, what's the incentive to hide this information? Wake up, people. Wake up.
All right, so we're going to let you guys go. Watch it when you get the opportunity to, the documentary Vaxxed. Even if you think vaccines are the, you know, a gift from God, again, just inform yourself. I mean, why wouldn't you want information? Watch it and then make your own decisions. I'll put links to videos about immunoexcitotoxicity. If you do have a child with autism, really look into detoxification, check out Dan McDonald's methods. We'll put all those links below. We love you guys. Just be smart, be safe. We just want that for everyone. We want everyone to be smart and be safe and just enjoy life to its fullest.
Everything can be healed. Everything can be healed. This is not the end of the world, but truth and information gives us power. And the more that we can act on that information is when we take our power back from these quacks that have stolen it from us. Much love to everyone. Have a wonderful evening.